The Harpie archetype is a series of cards primarily made up of wind-attributed winged beast monsters iconically used by My Valentine in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters series. Their design takes inspiration from the Greek mythological creatures of the same name, HARPIE'S. Long ago they were known as simple wind spirits, a personification of the destructive potential of wind itself. Over time they would begin to take on a more tangible form through countless retellings of people's experiences. Some said that the HARPIE'S were hideous creatures with the body of a bird and the head of a woman. Others depicted HARPIE'S as beautiful women, adorned with bird-like wings. It is of course the latter that the Duel Monsters HARPIE'S are based on. Interestingly, the name Harpie is meant as a derogatory term, as it means snatcher. The HARPIE'S were given this title because they were known for stealing food and carrying away people they deemed as evil. It was said in Greek lore that when a person suddenly disappeared, it was because they had been carried off by the HARPIE'S. Now, the HARPIE'S have a very unfortunate record in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, and that is that the Harpie archetype are one of, if not the most heavily censored archetype in the entire Yu-Gi-Oh! Game. Literally every incarnation of the Harpie ladies are dressed in a revealing manner, and as such every single Harpie monster has been censored from its original Japanese artwork to make them look less sexually suggestive. In my personal opinion, I don't think any card artwork should be censored. Leave the monsters how the creators envisioned them, for better or for worse really. In fact, it's not like they were overly sexualized for no reason. In the original artworks, they kind of matched how My Valentine was depicted in the earlier anime episodes, since she would use her looks to charm and manipulate weak-willed duelists in order to take advantage of them.
You must be quite a strong card player. Tell you what, if you win, I'll give you a kiss.
Huh?
Get out, loser! And thanks for the room, Rex.
So I better pose the question to all of you. What do you think about censorship in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game? I've noticed lately we have been getting reprints of older censored cards now with their original artworks. Think Monster Reborn or Exodia. So should we reprint the HARPIE'S with their original looks? Let me know in the comments section below. But without further ado, let's take a look at each of the individual Harpie cards, starting with the one that started it all, Harpie Lady. Her flavor text reads, "This human-shaped animal with wings is beautiful to watch, but deadly in battle." Looking at the artwork of Harpie Lady, you can see that she wears a purple jumpsuit that covers almost the entirety of her body. However, this is not how her original design was depicted. In the original Japanese print, her midsection and chest were almost entirely uncovered. It is alluded to much more in the original Japanese, but all the Harpie monsters' attires seem to be styled around BDSM gear. And without getting into too much detail, BDSM is an abbreviation for bondage, domination, sadism, and masochism. The clothing the Harpies wear seems to allude to this since they look like they're made of latex. As well, they seem to be a bit restrictive in some areas. However, this is further emphasized by how the Cyber Shield spell card was originally called Cyber Bondage in the Japanese. As well, the Harpies have an anime equip card called Rose Whip. When equipped with Rose Whip, Harpie Lady's attack name becomes Whip Punish. And while we're talking about it, I guess Harpie's pet dragon is kind of their gimp. I mean, it's wearing a chain around its neck, which is being held by the Harpie Lady. They're literally dominating that poor dragon, and that face looks like he's absolutely loving it. Moving on. Now, I guess when you keep that in mind, it makes a little bit more sense why these cards would be toned down a bit for international release. However, for Harpie Lady, they censored her by making her look less overly sexualized by reducing the amount of skin and cleavage visible in her card artwork. Don't worry, we're going to be covering all of the other Harpie Ladies to see how they were censored too, but before we do them, Harpie Lady's artwork itself was in fact taken straight from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga Duelist Duel 10, The Siren. It's interesting as well, as in that version, Harpie Lady was a level 5 monster instead of a level 4. As well, out of all the Harpie monsters that preceded this monster, this is the only one to be depicted with blue skin. Every other Harpie after this one has just normal human skin tones. I find this interesting because clearly this card's flavor text emphasizes that though they are humanoid in shape, they are in fact just a human-shaped animal with wings. So giving them people skin makes them seem a bit more human, so I don't know. Is this a retcon? Harpie Lady appears in a few card artworks, such as the anime exclusive card Summoning Clock. Her eyes physically appear in Shadow of Eyes, and I actually never noticed this before, but Harpie Lady appears in Elegant Egotist. Her face is being reflected by the kaleidoscope lens, which, if you didn't know, Elegant Egotist in the Japanese is known as Kaleidoscope Magnificent Doppelgangers. Now, some of you out there might think that Harpie Lady has a brother known as Harpie's brother. And why wouldn't you think that? Based on that name, the monster's appearance, his attribute and type, it'd be a pretty safe bet to say he was. Well, he's actually not. It was all a mistranslation error. He was originally called Birdman in the Japanese, and as such, he has no relation to the Harpie archetype at all. And it is due to this that this monster must be excluded from any archetype related effects. So, in order for the localization team to fix this mistake, they decided to change his name as of Astral Pack 2 to Sky Scout to stop the confusion. Also, while we're talking about male counterparts, Swift Birdman Joe doesn't seem to be a part of the archetype since his name and effect are unrelated. However, he does have the same background artwork as well as a very similar body design as Harpie Ladies 1, 2 and 3, and his wind and a winged beast as well, so I don't know. I'm going to say a hard no though, Joe. Get your own archetype. Cyber Harpie Lady, known in the Japanese as Harpie Lady Cyber Bondage. Her effect is, this card's name is always treated as Harpie Lady. Fun fact, this monster is the only effect monster in the game that doesn't technically have an effect. What's written on the card is more of a clarification or a gameplay mechanic instead, meaning it can't be negated or affected. There is no point at which Cyber Harpie Lady is not treated as Harpie Lady. Keeping that in mind as well, this also gives the card another unique feature, in that it is the only monster's effect to be entirely written between parentheses. And in terms of this monster's censorship, Cyber Harpie Lady had the spikes on her armor removed. As well, her breast size was reduced slightly. Now, if you look at this monster's artwork, it is very clear that she is based on her original Harpie Lady design when she was equipped with the Cyber Shield and Rose Whip together, which is quite interesting because she only seems to gain the attack of the Cyber Shield in this form, as that adds 500 attack to Harpie Lady's base form attack. Had it added Rose Whips as well, her attack should be at 2100. Though Cyber Harpie Lady's defense is 100 points lower than her base forms as well, so perhaps this is all just a coincidence. Now, it wouldn't be a Harpie Lady video if we didn't address the maximum of 3 rule in terms of these monsters and how it's a bit of a confusing mess. So, in the Yugioh trading card game, you're allowed to build a deck with a minimum of 40 cards and a maximum of 60 cards. You can put any card you desire into your deck, but you can only have a maximum of 3 of any card. This is done because 1, variety is the spice of life, and 2, everyone would probably play, I don't know, 35 Pot of Greed cards along with the 5 pieces of Exodia. Bang, 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 I've won, no matter what starting hand you get. So, quiz time. With what I just said in mind, true or false? If I made a deck with 3 Harpie Ladies and 3 Cyber Harpie Ladies, am I breaking the rule of maximum of 3? Now, if you thought the answer was false, since these monsters have different names, so that must mean they are separate monsters, well, you would be wrong. If a card states in its effect that it is always treated as another card, then that monster is technically that monster, since at no point is it ever considered the monster that it is. You're following me, right? In other words, if you wanted to play Harpie Lady and Cyber Harpie Lady, it would have to look a little bit like this. Harpie Lady times 3, Cyber Harpie Lady times 3, Harpie Lady times 2, and 1 Cyber Harpie Lady, or Cyber Harpie Lady times 2 and 1 Harpie Lady. And if this was just a one-off, they wanted to give their main Harpie Lady a bit of a boost, then you could forgive Konami for doing this. However, they did this 3 more times with this archetype. They did it with Harpie Lady number 1. This card's name is always treated as Harpie Lady. Harpie Lady number 2. This card's name is always treated as Harpie Lady. And Harpie Lady number 3. This card's name is, yeah, you guessed it, always treated as Harpie Lady. So now that we have 5 monsters that are all technically the same monster, that means you can only play 3 of all of these cards in a deck. So just 1 Cyber Harpie Lady, 1 Harpie Lady, and 1 Harpie Lady 3 as an example. You'll notice that later on in this video, there are going to be some other Harpies that have an effect that treat their names as Harpie Lady. However, these effects aren't permanent. Instead, they are only treated as Harpie Lady in certain places, such as on the field or in the graveyard. This means that since they keep their original name whilst in the deck, it's actually a-okay to play 3 of each of those without worrying about the maximum of 3 rule. In fact, while we mentioned Harpie Lady 1, 2 and 3, not only do they all have the effect of all being treated as Harpie Lady, but they also each have their own unique abilities. Harpie Lady 1's effect is that all wind monsters gain 300 attack. Harpie Lady 2 is able to negate the effects of all flip effect monsters that it is able to destroy. And Harpie Lady 3 has the effect an opponent's monster battles this card cannot declare an attack during your opponent's next 2 turns. Of course, Harpie Lady 1, 2 and 3 have also all been censored by having their bare skin covered along with their breast sizes reduced. They also all appear in the artworks of Hysteric Party, Harpie Lady Sisters, and Triangle Ecstasy Spark. As well, Harpie Lady 1 also appears in Harpie's Hunting Ground. Harpie Lady Sisters, known in the Japanese as 3 Harpie Lady Sisters. Her effect is cannot be normal summoned or set, must first be special summoned with Elegant Egotist. This monster's artwork was censored by having each of the Harpie Sisters' spikes on their breastplates removed, along with their actual breast sizes reduced in size as well. However, strangely, Harpie Lady 3's cleavage is left fully visible, despite the fact that she had been censored for this very same reason before. Now, interestingly, despite the fact that this monster is made up of Harpie Lady 1, 2 and 3, Harpie Lady Sisters was released first in 1999's Volume 4 pack. It wouldn't be until 2004 that the individual Harpie Sisters would be released. In fact, this monster's attack, defense and level were determined by the combined total of the 3 Harpie Ladies. Attack 1300 times 3 equals 3900, defense 1400 times 3 equals 4200, and level 4 times 3 equals 12. You take those results and then halve them and you get Harpie Lady Sisters' overall stats. This monster's artwork was taken from Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist Duel 11 from when Harpie Lady was split into 3 duplicates via Elegant Egotist's effect. And Harpie Lady Sisters appears in the artworks of Triangle Ecstasy Spark and Harpie Lady Elegance. Harpie Girl. Her flavor text reads, a Harpie chick who aspires to flit about beautifully and gorgeously, but attack sharply. When Harpie Girl was first printed for international release, it was actually left unchanged from the Japanese version. However, all further reprints of the card gave Harpie Girl more clothing, as well as they reduced the size of her breasts. It is believed by fans that Harpie Girl grows up to become Harpie Dancer. This is believed because they both have similar faces, identical hair colours, and a slight similarity in terms of their attire. Also, the fact that Harpie Girl aspired to flit about beautifully, with the word flit meaning to move swiftly and lightly, it seems to be referencing dancing itself. However, they do seem to have different eye colours and their wing colours do seem to be different as well, which could debunk this theory, so I don't know. Up to you guys. Harpie Dancer's effect is you can target 1 wind monster you control, return it to the hand, then you can normal summon 1 wind monster. You can only use the effect of Harpie Dancer once per turn. This card's name becomes Harpie Lady while on the field or in the graveyard. Of course, Harpie Dancer has had her artwork censored. In her case, she has been censored quite heavily, as practically her entire body is covered up, going as far as to change her unique attire to match more closely to the original Harpie Lady's attires as well. Harpie Channeler. Her effect is you can discard 1 Harpie card, special summon 1 Harpie monster from your deck in face-up defense position, except Harpie Channeler. You can only use the effect of Harpie Channeler once per turn. While you control a dragon-type monster, this card's level becomes 7. This card's name becomes Harpie Lady while it is on the field or in the graveyard. In terms of censorship, she has had her breast size reduced, along with more clothing added to cover her thighs. Her exposed stomach, along with the slight bit of cleavage and shoulders that are exposed as well, are also covered. Do people really sexualize shoulders? Is that a thing? Interestingly, she is given the inverse attack and defense of all of the other original Harpie monsters, as while they had 1300 attack and 1400 defense, this monster has 1400 attack and 1300 defense. Now, it appears as if this monster is the keeper of the Harpie's pet phantasmal dragon, as she appears in the artwork of that monster's card. As well, her effect aids in the summoning of this monster based on the fact that she can special summon more Harpie monsters to the field. Oh, and you can also see the chain in her hand that she uses to keep the dragon under control. Harpie HARPIST. Her effect is this card's name becomes Harpie Lady while it is on the field or in the graveyard. You can only use each of these effects of Harpie HARPIST once per turn. When this card is normal summoned, you can target one winged beast type monster you control other than this card, and one face-up monster your opponent controls, return them to the hand. During the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can add one level 4 winged beast type monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. Now this Harpie is unique as it is the only one of the Harpie monsters that have actually made it through to the international release and has not been censored. Let's all give a round of applause to this monster. Well done, well done. Oh, wait a minute. I'm just kidding. Of course she's been censored. Her legs and stomach have been covered, as well as her cleavage has been fully removed, as well as she's also been covered up just a little bit more as well. In fact, speaking of her artwork, if you put the Noble Knight card Lady of the Lake next to this monster, they actually kind of look almost identical. I mean, they're in the same position as each other, and they're both like holding an object. Interesting. Harpie Perfumer. One of the newest Harpie cards to be released. Her effect is this card's name becomes Harpie Lady while on the field or in the graveyard. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists the card Harpie Lady Sisters in its text. If you controlled a level 5 or higher Harpie monster when you activated this effect, you can also add a second such card with a different name from the first. You can only use this effect of Harpie Perfumer once per turn. Harpie Perfumer, despite coming out in 2019, you know, with all like progressiveness and stuff, she was still subject to censorship as she had her upper torso completely covered. It appears as if Harpie Perfumer's design is a reference to how during My Valentine's first duel against Joey Wheeler, she actually used perfume on each of her cards in order to identify them without looking at them in order to psychologically break her opponents. How she could uniquely identify 40 different perfumes is a testament to her sense of smell. I mean, I bet I couldn't even do that with like 3 cards. Harpie Oracle. Another one of the brand new 2019 Harpies. Her effect is this card's name becomes Harpie Lady while on the field or in the graveyard. You can only use each of these effects of Harpie Oracle once per turn. If you control a level 5 or higher Harpie monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one spell or trap from your graveyard to your hand that specifically lists the card Harpie Lady Sisters in its text during the end phase of this turn. Of course, her artwork had been censored by covering up her upper body as well as reducing her cleavage's visibility. And just like Harpie Perfumer, Oracle seems to be based on My Valentine's ability to identify her cards without looking at them through the perfume aroma trick. She did claim it was psychic powers that granted her this ability, and since oracles are said to be able to see the future in their crystal balls, this makes sense. Also, Oracle shares the same attack, defense, level type, and attribute as the original Harpie Lady. Harpie Queen. Her effect is this card's name becomes Harpie Lady while it's on the field or in the graveyard. You can discard this card to the graveyard to add one Harpie's Hunting Ground from your deck to your hand. Ironically, Harpie Queen is the strongest monster in terms of attack points out of all the Harpie Ladies. However, she's also the most censored Harpie monster of them all. She has had literally her entire body covered up when brought out internationally, along with her breast size being reduced and bits of her clothing actually being extended for some strange reason. Speaking of her artwork as well, as a field spell searcher monster, it's interesting to note that she doesn't have her associated field spell appear in the background of her artwork. This is something that is typically done for similar field spell searcher monsters, and this means so far then that Harpie Queen and Glyph the Phantom Bird are the only ones that don't have the background of their corresponding field spell in their artwork. Harpie's Pet Baby Dragon. His effect is this card gains effects based on the number of Harpie monsters you control, except Harpie's Pet Baby Dragon. 1 or more, your opponent cannot target Harpie monsters you control for attacks, except Harpie's Pet Dragon. 2 or more, double the original attack and defense of this card. 3 or more, once per turn, you can target one card your opponent controls, destroy that target. Sadly, not even the Baby Dragon is safe from censorship, as Harpie Girl appears in this monster's artwork, and as such, so does censorship. With the words baby and dragon in this monster's name, along with the fact it has 1200 attack points, it makes this monster almost identical to 2 of Joey Wheeler's cards, baby dragon and Red Eye's baby dragon. Not so surprising really when you consider that Joey and Mai actually shared a relationship together. In fact, not only that, but they all grow up into bigger versions of themselves. Baby dragon grows up into Thousand Dragon, Red Eye's baby dragon grows up into Red Eye's Black Dragon, and of course Harpie's pet baby dragon grows up into Harpie's pet dragon. His effect is he gains 300 attack and defense for each Harpie lady on the field. An actual Harpie card that isn't censored. However, I guess it doesn't actually have one of the Harpies in it, so I don't think that counts. As we mentioned earlier, the Harpie archetype have some ties to BDSM. One of the aspects of this is domination or discipline. Harpie's pet dragon displays this aspect in the anime, as when Yugi took control of the monster, it actually refused to attack Mai's Harpie ladies. You can see the shadow of this monster in Alluring Mirror Spirit's artwork. As well, this monster has an upgraded Xyz form known as Harpie's pet phantasmal dragon, known in the Japanese as Harpie's pet mirage dragon. Requires 3 level 4 wind monsters. This card's effect can only be applied / resolved while it has an Xyz material. This card can attack your opponent directly. Your opponent cannot target any Harpie monsters with effects or for attacks. During each of your end phases, detach 1 Xyz material from this card. Looks like we're back at the censorship again, as Harpie Channeler has her clothing changed. And interestingly, in the product overview for Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy on Konami's website, this monster's effect and mirage-like appearance comes from the fact that it is from a time that never was. Which is basically saying that Xyz monsters didn't exist at the time when the other Harpie cards were released. So it's as if this monster has been brought from the future back into the past, but seems a bit more as like dimensions, so it doesn't necessarily belong in the Harpie dimension. I don't know, I'm trying to read between the lines here. You come up with your own theories. And the final Harpie monster, and currently the first and only Link monster in the archetype, we have Harpie Conductor. Requires 2 wind monsters. This card's name becomes Harpie Lady while on the field or in the graveyard. If a Harpie monster you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy 1 spell or trap you control instead. If a face-up Harpie monster you control, other than this card, is returned to your hand, you can target 1 special summon monster your opponent controls, return that monster to the hand. You can only use each effect of Harpie Conductor once per turn. This monster is yet to come out internationally, and as such, she doesn't have a censored artwork just yet. And while I'd love for her to stay just the way she is, we all know that Konami is going to change her clothing. So if it's going to happen, how about I just save them the trouble and I'll do it for them. We also have a supporting monster that weirdly has no physical similarities to the archetype at all, and that is Birdface, whose effect is when this card is sent to the graveyard, as a result of battle, you can add 1 Harpie Lady from your deck to your hand, then shuffle your deck. We also have all the Harpie support cards. Harpie's Feather Duster, destroy all spell and trap cards your opponent controls. Harpie's Feather Rest, known in the Japanese as Harpie's Feather Roosting, target 3 Harpie Lady and or Harpie Lady sisters in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, then draw 1 card. If you controlled a level 5 or higher Harpie monster when you activated this effect, draw 2 cards instead. For the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters except wind monsters. You can only activate 1 Harpie's Feather Rest per turn. Harpie's Feather Storm, known in the Japanese as Harpie's Feathered Blizzard. If you control a Winged Beast type monster until the end of this turn, negate any monster effects your opponent activates. If you control a Harpie monster, you can activate this card from your hand. If this card in its own spell and trap zone is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can add 1 Harpie Feather Duster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Seeing as this card's secondary effect lets you add a Harpie's Feather Duster, does this mean we could see Harpie's Feather Duster being taken off the ban list sometime in the future? I've legitimately held on to my Harpie's Feather Duster for so long. I think I got it in a Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship 2002, 5, 7, one of those. So please can we have it back? Just the one. please. Harpy Lady Phoenix Formation, known in the Japanese as Harpy Lady Feng Huang Formation. If you control 3 or more Harpy Lady and or Harpy Lady sisters, target as many monsters your opponent controls as possible, but not more than the total of Harpy Lady and Harpy Lady sisters you control. Destroy those targets, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the highest original attack among those destroyed monsters. Your choice if tied. You cannot special summon monsters from the main or extra deck, nor conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this effect. Harpy Lady Elegance, known in the Japanese as the Elegant Harpy Lady. Shuffle 1 Harpy Lady sisters from your monster zone into the deck. Then you can special summon 3 Harpy monsters with different original names, 1 each from your hand, deck and graveyard for the rest of this turn. After this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters except wind monsters. If this card you control is destroyed by a Harpy's card effect or your opponent's card effect, add 1 Harpy monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect of Harpy Lady Elegance once per turn. Alluring Mirror Split, known in the Japanese as Split Mirrors of Seduction. When a Harpy Lady or Harpy Lady sisters you control is destroyed by battle, you can special summon 1 Harpy monster from your deck with a different original name than the destroyed monster. If this card you control is destroyed by a Harpy card effect or your opponent's card effect, target 1 Harpy monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can only use each effect of Alluring Mirror Split once per turn. Harpy's Hunting Ground. All Winged Beast monsters gain 200 attack and defense. If any Harpy Lady or Harpy Lady sister is normal or special summoned, the player who conducted the summon targets 1 spell or trap on the field. That player destroys that target. Hysteric Sign. When this card is activated, add 1 Elegant Egotist from your deck or graveyard to your hand. During the end phase of the turn this card was sent from the field or hand to the graveyard, add up to 3 Harpy cards with different names from your deck to your hand. You can only activate 1 Hysteric Sign effect per turn, and only once that turn. Hysteric Party. Activate this card by discarding 1 card, special summon as many copies of Harpy Lady as possible from your graveyard. When this face-up card leaves the field, destroy those monsters. Cyber Shield, known in the Japanese as Cyber Bondage. Equip only to a Harpy Lady or Harpy Lady sisters, it gains 500 attack. Elegant Egotist, known in the Japanese as Kaleidoscope Magnificent Doppelgangers. If a Harpy Lady is on the field, special summon 1 Harpy Lady or Harpy Lady sisters from your hand or deck. Triangle Ecstasy Spark. Until the end of this turn, the attack of all Harpy Lady sisters currently on the field becomes 2,700. Your opponent cannot activate any trap cards, also negate all your opponent's trap effects on the field. Shadow of Eyes, known in the Japanese as Shadow of Seduction. When a monster is set on your opponent's side of the field, target one of those set monsters. Change that set monster to face-up attack position, flip effects and are activated at this time. Also, as a quick mention before we finish, we have a trap card that was created for the sole purpose of countering Harpie's Feather Duster, which is Griffon Wing. When your opponent activates Harpie's Feather Duster, negate its effect, and if you do, destroy all spell and trap cards your opponent controls instead. And with that, guys, that is another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetypes done. I hope you enjoyed this video. What do you think of the Harpy monsters? Let me know in the comment section below. But before we go, we've got some huge shout outs for our Patreon and YouTube supporters. The grandest of shout outs to my platinum backers. Thank you very much to Yugioh97, J24092, Chowderman36 and Spencer Davis. Thank you very much for supporting me on Patreon, as well to my YouTube and Patreon gold backers, Dylan Cunan, ZaWolf18, Silver Defender, Chungming Zen, David Shanahan, Shogun, Shinjo CB, Reyes Sanchez, Spencer Geller, as well to everybody else in my silver backers. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. Thank you for keeping us going, and thank you for making videos like these possible. Guys, thank you all for watching. Catch you later.